How to Not Die Alone by Logan Ury. I'll be honest with you guys, I found love already. In fact, I got engaged last week. So I didn't really have to check this book out, but it was recommended by one of you guys, so here we are. Just so you know, there are affiliate links in the description. If you guys buy anything through those links, then I get commission, which helps me build this channel and keep making these videos for you guys. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sam, and I want to make self-growth normal, because people shouldn't have to look this information up. It should just be mainstream knowledge. If you agree, then please make sure to smash that like button. Something I love about this book, honestly, because we have not seen it before on this channel in a relationship book, unless you count Why Women Have Sex, wink wink, is that most relationship books do not include LGBTQ plus studies in their research, but this one does. And what's very interesting is that they deal with many of the same problems that heterosexual relationships do. Now, the author stressed that the research and opinions are completely her own. She studied psych at Harvard and was the director of relationship science for the dating app Hinge, and learned how to help millions of people date more effectively. As it turns out, behavioral science is the missing piece that can help people change behavior, break bad patterns, and find lasting love. I mean, finding a partner is hard enough. You know, you have to deal with identifying baggage, bad advice, and societal and familial pressure. Listening to her layout of the sections and writing down the chapter names, I figured, okay, this lady definitely has more of an analytical way of looking at things. But really, you listen to her talk and you would not think that. Part 1 is called Getting Ready. Why dating is harder now than ever before. How to understand the challenges of modern dating. A lot of this had to do, as you could probably guess, with social media. Feeling like everyone else's relationship is perfect and yours doesn't exist sort of exacerbates it. Mid-hike engagements, pictures of a snoozing baby on someone's chest, onto the 3 dating tendencies, something I'd never heard of before, how to discover your dating blind spots. The most common issue she hears about, she calls dating blind spots. She even has a quiz in the book that you can take to find yours too, but the main idea is that everyone in each of these has unrealistic expectations of relationships. Next is Disney Lied to Us. How to overcome the romanticizer tendency. If there's anything over the years that I've disliked about Disney, it's the way they portray romantic relationships. You'll think with this tendency, like, I just haven't met this person yet. You won't give someone a chance who matches everything you're looking for but 1 or 2 features or qualities. You'll think love is meant to be effortless. There are also factors that make these tendencies worse, what the author calls intensifiers. And then, don't let perfect be the enemy of great. How to overcome the maximizer tendency. Maximizers obsess over making the best possible type of decision. It's the special type of perfectionist who's compelled to explore every possible option before moving forward with something. Others will hunt for the good enough decision, the satisfier. She did stress that you may be one in some areas of your life and another in other areas of your life, which I found pretty interesting, but it leads to anguish, delays in decision making, and missed opportunities. It's better to be a satisficer. This concept was either coined or popularized by a guy named Barry Schwartz, author of Paradox of Choice, an example of the analytical thinking I mentioned earlier. To determine your dating window, count the number of years from when you started dating to when you like to enter a long-term relationship. Now, what's 37% of that number? Add that to the age you started dating. That is your 37% mark. If you are in your 30s, you probably already passed it. I will say there are several hints throughout the book of feminist beliefs, and I'm saying this for anyone who's watched this far and completely disagrees with that, and you're like, I totally agree with all of this, then you check out the book and you're like, oh, well, I guess I'm never watching any of Sam's reviews ever again. And if there are political beliefs in a book, and they're even minor, I just feel the need to mention them because I never know who's watching these videos. Next up is the chapter Don't Wait, Date, how to overcome the hesitator tendency. When it comes to dating, she said that hesitators will wait until they have more confidence, more money, more whatever, but they're neglecting the opportunity costs of not starting. You think you want something, so you try it doesn't work, and you move on. It reminds me of something I heard from Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone. The grass is only greener where you grow it. She said that with dating, you have to practice asking interesting questions, going in for the first kiss, expressing yourself in a compelling way. But the only way to get better at it is by actually doing it. And by the way, she includes steps for handling these tendencies. For anyone who's like, Sam, this book doesn't really make sense based on what you're telling me. It sounds more like why so many people die alone than how to not die alone. Next is learn your attachment style, how to manage attachment style. In this chapter, you learn about the whole attachment styles, a concept popularized by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller in their book Attached. These styles are called avoidant, anxious, and secure. I talk about these in my review of that book. I'll drop a link in the description. Then there's look for a life partner, not a prom date. How to focus on what matters in a long-term partner. This is opened by an experience the author had with a guy named Brian. Then you hear something about focusing on long-term viability and how she didn't do that with Brian, which is primarily why she believes they didn't last. My favorite part of this was the present bias, where in the moment you decide to act on the here and now instead of the long-term results. And I will say the author cites other books, but things like the evolutionary benefits of being attractive, for example, they've been talked about by so many people for decades, and we really do not review that many relationship books on this channel. But the other side of this is citing characters in shows like 30 Rock to explain downsides of being attractive, like how no one's really honest with you, and then describing how you'll get used to being with even the most attractive person. So in the long term, it's not fully worth it. Part 2 is getting out there. Here's the how part.
Okay.
You think you know what you want, but you're wrong. How to avoid the pitfalls of online dating. Do you know the show The Amazing Race? The show follows friends and family members who travel to exotic locations to complete missions. The pairs that are too familiar fight. They get stuck on the same things. The most successful duos complement each other. They don't have identical traits. When they miss a flight, one partner finds another route and soothes the other's panic. That's what makes them win. You want the same thing with your life partner. Honestly, this was my favorite chapter. It reminded me a lot of when I wrote this, I said girlfriend, but I proposed to her like a week and a half ago. And she said yes, of course. We are so different from each other in a lot of ways. Also, other things like how do you feel after spending time around your partner? How do you fight with each other? When you do you feel heard? You have to fight and you have to face tough choices. The next chapter was also fascinating about how dating apps change the decisions we make and what we believe we want in a partner. The author conducted a study with people who met their spouses in person, asking, would you swipe right or left with your current partner if you saw them on a dating app? And the vast majority of them actually said they wouldn't see their current partner on the dating app because the algorithm would shut them out. It's funny to think that these people know how the algorithm of that dating app works, like they've engineered it or have worked closely with people who've engineered it. I don't know. Meet people IRL. How to find love off the dating apps. By the way, if you are on a dating app and you're not secure about your pictures, avoid selfies like the plague. Seriously, you really need to avoid selfies, especially bathroom ones and group photos. I know who you are out there. I don't actually, but I'm saying I do because maybe it will make you think a little harder about it. Candids and artsy photos outperform selfies, any selfies, by a ton. And then when you match with someone or whatever, you look at the profile and you comment on something subtle that most people might not notice. This chapter reminded me of Models by Mark Manson. Some of it is very out of the box, but incredibly introvert friendly, which I love. When nothing else works, getting in line at an event. If you're feeling bold, using family and friends as references. I've never heard of these before, ever, in any book at all. Even in books about like networking and like social skill improvement, I've never heard of it. Super out of the box. The next chapter is called This is a Date, Not a Job Interview. Oh, Logan. How to create better dates. Some of these date ideas are also very out of the box. And she really knows how to explain, like, well, if you don't like these, at least try X or Y. Roller skating, watching YouTube to learn a dance from a favorite childhood music video, seeing an old movie and discussing it over a walk, going for a bike ride and bringing a picnic with you, renting scooters and riding around the city, bringing watercolors to the park and painting pictures of the same tree or each other. How to reject myths about instant chemistry. Did you know that 11% of people fall in love at first sight? Isn't that weird? Next we have going on the second date. How to decide if you should see someone again. It's worth noting, in case I haven't already, the actual value of switching industries or fields from one to another. The author of this book is a dating coach, right? But originally she was a behavioral scientist. So there is a vast amount of unusual research and resources under her belt as a result that you would not find under the belts of other dating coaches. Things like deal breakers and the spark are shattered and redefined as concepts with clarity. Part 3 is called Getting Serious.
Ooh, things are getting serious.
Decide, don't slide. How to consciously navigate relationship milestones. Here she uncovered the pros and cons of moving in together before marriage, how it ties into marriage and how it affects marriage. The following chapter is Stop Hitching and Stop Ditching. How to decide if you should break up. This is where she went in more into the differences between pet peeves and deal breakers. Guys, I will say that a lot of those things that give you this urge to break up with someone, they may not be what you think. In fact, I bet that identifying them as something else later on you'll realize why they caused those urges. You learn here about hitchers versus ditchers. I like that she categorized these different personalities, because sometimes categorizations of different traits to sort of draw the lines in the sand and say, well, which one of these describes you, if anything. It bothers me, but also something in this book almost warrants a usefulness in having it. Maybe it's something about the topic at hand. Then there's make a breakup plan, how to break up with someone. This consider different factors like, well, we've been fighting a lot, how the other person might react, and what you do if this happens. I don't want this to be any worse than it has to be. Coming up with a plan after the breakup of the first few days and weeks. This stuff might sound unnecessary to certain people, but if you try it and it works, please do not blame me for the positive results, okay guys? She literally, this is insane. She has an online breakup contract that thousands of couples have used to successfully remain friends at the end, after the end of the relationships. Then, almost done, reframe your breakup as a gain, not a loss. How to overcome heartbreak. This is just hard. I've seen people handle heartbreak. Maybe you've dealt with it, or maybe you've had a friend. It just feels like this hard, like pain in your gut that won't go away. But this book with a problem like this from a lady who has plenty of coaching and education under her belt, I would say is worth more than every penny. Lastly, before you tie the knot, do this. How to decide if you should get married. This chapter makes a lot of sense, discussing how many couples are married by the time they figure out that there are many fundamental values they don't actually agree on, and couples who stay together longer before marriage, typically and primarily for this reason, tend to stay together after marriage more often than those who don't, which I found extremely compelling. Honestly, this is really a solid guide, to my knowledge, not my experience, to not dying alone. It's phenomenally digital age friendly, surprising as the subtitle suggests, and counterintuitive. It's quick to acknowledge both sides of a coin as well, but what I really like about it is that it politely yet insistently invites you to examine yourself and what you really want and need as a person, and whether those wants and needs are actually good for you. Quotes. While love may be a natural reaction, dating isn't. Just like people don't post pictures of themselves crying or picking their nose, no one posts photos of blowout fights with their girlfriend or nights spent wondering whether they should stay with her. Once we commit to something, our brain rationalizes why it's the right choice. When you were thinking about who to marry, don't ask yourself what a love story would look like with this person. Instead, ask yourself, can I build a life with this person? A good relationship has space for different people with different hobbies. Just because you know where someone's been and where they are doesn't mean you know where they're going. You can keep chasing that new relationship high, but the dynamic always changes eventually. Direction 1. I recommend this book for people who, a lot of these are pretty self-explanatory. I'm starting to realize that in my opinion, non-fiction books, or really any books, should be about what you would expect them to be about. And their info should do for you what you would expect it to do for you. And I'm really starting to realize that maybe this is a solid measure of what makes not just a clear, but a well-marketed book. Direction 2. Attached. It's good. I really liked Relationship Goals by Pastor Mike Todd. And if you can get past or endorse its religious
ramifications, if you will,
you definitely will as well. How to Not Die Alone by Logan Ury. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check out and read the reviews. That and all the other books that I mentioned in this video if you want to check those out too. If there are any other books that you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments below. Also let me know if you checked out this book and you liked it, but hey, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, because I don't get why people watch this far in my videos and they don't subscribe. But if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to get a notification whenever I drop new videos, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.